What's up guys, it's Galaxy Waju here, and today I'm actually going to be showcasing you my updated Burning Abyss deck from yesterday's video. And this is the deck that we are going to be playtesting with. So some of the major updates that I've done is I've actually put Pankratops to the main deck, and the reason for this is that I think that Pankratops is an insane card in the Burning Abyss deck, because the thing is, this deck does suffer with back row decks, and Pankratops is arguably one of the best decks going up against a lot of the back row heavy decks, because with Pankratops you can pretty much force them to use one of their trap cards, and assuming it's not like a counter trap card where you can't chain Pankratops, you can use Pankratops to pretty much make them go neg in card advantage, which is something that I really like about this card. So I think it works really well in the Burning Abyss deck, and it really doesn't conflict with your Burning Abyss monsters, since you always have the leeway to simply tribute your Pankratops off just to pop one of their cards. So I think that putting Pankratops in the main is gonna do wonders for us. And some other notable things is that I've actually included Topologic Trisbania. I think that Trisbania is probably one of the best cards in Burning Abyss, because well, first of all, it's definitely a great card this format. I think that obviously in tandem with a lot of the decks that this deck struggles with, such as True Jacob as well as Sky Strikers, Trisbania definitely does a lot of work against those types of decks. So having this inclusion definitely makes sense against those very hard matchups. But in general, it's just very easy to summon this card, and it's very easy to trigger this card. So it's actually ruled that with Topologic Trisbania, you can, after this card is summoned, obviously, you can special summon a Burning Abyss monster to a zone that Trisbania points to. And the way that's ruled is that the Burning Abyss monsters don't instantly blow themselves up. Trisbania will actually trigger first, so your Burning Abyss monster that you instantly summon will get banished, and you'll be able to trigger the effect where you banish all your opponent's spells and trap cards. So that's definitely something to keep in mind, which is why I definitely want to include this card. So those are pretty much the main changes to the deck. Not much has changed, except we've slightly lowered the hand trap count, which I'm still fine with 12 hand traps. That's still, I mean, that's still over the top, but I think it's gonna definitely do a lot for us. So this is gonna be the deck, guys, and I'll see you guys in a duel. Alright guys, so this match actually took about 30 minutes, so instead of wasting you guys time, I'm actually just gonna go through the replay, and this was actually a pretty intense duel. So we're as you guys can see, we're playing against Orcust, which are, I mean, they're a pretty meta relevant deck, probably one of the better ones this format. So obviously it's not the easiest, so let's see how this duel plays out. And obviously I know how it ends, but we're gonna obviously play it out for you guys. So he summons the Mecha Phantom Beast O-Lion. O-Lion is one of those sort of nightmare turboing cards, I guess you could say, because it lets you summon out Cerberus, Nightmare Cerberus with relative ease because of Almirage. You can link away O-Lion for Almirage, and when the lion is sent to the graveyard, you get a token, so that pretty much generates two monsters to make your Nightmare Phoenix, which you can obviously link summon it into Nightmare Mermaid and pretty much combo off. So obviously that was a bit, I mean, when I first saw the O-Line, I was also very confused, but it does make sense. So I'm just gonna fast forward a bit, and you guys pretty much know how it works. But actually, so the only hand trap I did have was Ghost Ogre, and I actually Ghost Ogre the Mermaid because that pretty much denies him of a second monster to make the Galatea, and that actually turns out to be huge for me because he actually can't do anything else with his hand. If he had any other extender like Instant Fusion, he would have been able to continue, but I'm really happy that he actually didn't. So the Ghost Ogre turned out to be huge. So all he could do was set crescendo. So I just start off with Sekka's Light, draw into some monsters, and we special summon 2 BA. So from here I actually decide to make the Burning Abyss Link monster, and the reason for that is because I'm actually trying to OTK him by making Boros Sword Dragon. Boros Sword Dragon is an insane card and pretty easy to make, since Cherubini pretty much acts as sort of like an Isolt for this deck, allowing you to summon out a Burning Abyss monster when you send Graph. So obviously that's very nice. So yeah, I'm gonna pretty much summon out my monsters. So I think I send Seer. Yeah, I think I send no, I send Graph, and I special summon the Seer, and then I special summon the Libic, then I make Dante, and yeah, that was pretty fast, but you guys can, hopefully you guys can catch up. But I basically, I mean, all I did was summon out Boros Dragon, and obviously I have the BLS in hand, which is why I am planning to make this OTK. But as you guys can see in this guy's hand, he does have the effect failure, which really does suck for me. So after I do summon out the BLS, we have to rewind back to M1, so he pretty much uses effect failure and negates my BLS. So I just use BLS effect to banish the Nightmare Mermaid, and I made a huge mistake. I have no idea why he didn't tag with Boros Dragon. That is completely on my fault. So yeah, I'm completely sorry for that. So he summons Mathematician, and I actually don't think he does much. So he sends the O-Lion, and he really can't do anything aside from some of the token. But obviously he doesn't. I mean, most Orcust players only play one mermaid, so he really can't do anything. So he just scoops. So we're going into game 2 right now. So obviously 1-up to Burning Abyss, and that was a pretty decisive win. That Ghost Ogre definitely helped me out. And again, this guy opened relatively mediocre. He only sets 2 Call by the Grave, and Call by the Grave is actually one of the better cards against Burning Abyss. So that's definitely nothing. That's not something I should underestimate. So obviously I really did care about his back row. I did consider his back row, since technically with this hand I could OTK, but like last duel, there is a chance that he has a hand trap that can potentially stop me. So given that, you guys will see, I pretty much summon out I believe I also summon out Cherubini again, and let's see, yeah, I summon out Cherubini. Then I use Graph's effect. He chains Call by the Grave on Graph, which is obviously pretty harsh for me. So yeah, so he's gonna chain it on the Graph. So I'm gonna pretty much have to be forced to use Cherubini. I think I send Seer, and with Seer you have to use Seer's effect to special summon the Barbar. And he actually chains Ogre to the Cherubini. Cherubini does send as cost, so after I send as cost, he can Ogre it. So yeah, Cherubini pretty much dies. So yeah, I still decide I could technically use Seer to revive back the Cherubini, but I think that the level 3 is more valuable, so I go for Barbar. Then I special summon Farfa, and from here, yeah, I just deal damage because Dante would be on 2500, but Farfa and Barbar combined deal 2700. So obviously that 200 damage could definitely come into play. So yeah, looking pretty good. And yeah, I make Dante. Dante is pretty much standard at this point. So I just see what we mill. We milled Rhino, which is actually very good, since we milled 2 hand traps before that. So Rhino's gonna send, I believe I send a Scarm, because I really can't, yeah, I mean, I really don't have anything that can make Beatrice, so Scarm's probably the best option. So I use Scarm and I search the tour guide. So now I have a very strong following next turn. So as you guys can see, I have 3 hand traps. Gamma I can't use because I never summoned out the Cypher Link monster. So Gamma's pretty much a dead card unless he removes Dante. So obviously there's that. But DD Crow is actually very strong against Orcust. But as you guys can see, he does have the Call by the Grave. So that may or may not play out, and you guys will see. So yeah, I think he summons the O-Lion, and he pretty much does his Nightmare shenanigans. I think O-Lion is a very unique card. It's one of those Nightmare turboing cards, so that's actually something pretty interesting to keep in mind. So yeah, he summons out the Almarad, gets the token, then he spell summons the Nightmare Phoenix, links it away for the Nightmare Mermaid, then he pitches his Orcust Nightmare. And okay, so I guess I should make a comment about this. So the thing is that I was considering using DD Crow on his Orcust Nightmare, but the thing is that it wouldn't have done anything because Nightmare Mermaid just summons a second copy. So obviously using DD Crow would probably be a waste. So he summons out his second copy of Orcust Nightmare, and I believe he goes for Galatea at this point. So yeah, something I should also mention is that I was actually suspecting that he would have a second called, and the thing is that by having 2 hand traps, I realized that I wouldn't be able to use both of these. So like at this point, theoretically, I could use DD Crow to banish both these and not have to deal with it. But I was very scared about the Call by the Grave, so I actually decided to hold on. And obviously that really played out well in my advantage. So I let the Orcust Nightmare go through the first one. So I'm gonna see what he sends, and I believe he sends the Horror, which is the pretty much summons from the deck. And at this point, I decide to activate DD Crow, and he does have the Call by the Grave. Yeah, he says he's thinking. Yeah, he activates the Call by the Grave, and I was chaining 3 DD Crow. I activated second DD Crow, and since the chain resolves backwards, my DD Crow will resolve, but my first DD Crow won't resolve. So I mean, that's pretty much fine with me. I think getting rid of the Horror pretty much stopped him for the most part. He's gonna shuffle it back with Galatea and set his he sends the Babel, which is pretty much the card that disrupts me on my turn. So obviously I do have to watch out for that. So he activates Instant Fusion, and he summons Shadal Winda, which I was very confused about, but regardless, I mean, I guess actually I'm not very sure. If you guys can let me know why he summoned Winda, or why Orcust players are playing Winda, let me definitely let me know. So he summons the Dingirsu, and he uses the Dingirsu to send my Dante, which is probably not a good move because it had Farfa underneath it. So yeah, I'm gonna obviously take advantage of that. So chain link 1 Farfa, chain link 2 Dante, target Seer. So I'm gonna Farfa his Dingirsu, and yeah, he pretty much had nothing left to do. So I mean, I pretty much made him I pretty much out resourced him, so he really did not have anything. I still had to be a less and Torah guide, so I think that was a pretty decisive win. So I think that the Orcust matchup is actually definitely in favor of the Burning Abyss because of the sheer amount of hand traps that you can run with DD Crow, Ghost Ogre, Effect Veiler, Gamma. I think all these hand traps are effective against the deck, so that definitely plays out in this duel. So I'm gonna see you guys in the second duel. Alright guys, so again, this duel was pretty long, about like 10 minutes, so again, I just want to short it down. So we're going to see the replay. So I am playing against Sky Striker, another pretty meta relevant deck. So we actually didn't open that well whatsoever, so I was really hoping on making a Dante, hopefully milling a Graph or a Rhino, because that way I could summon obviously Beatrice, but unfortunately I wasn't that lucky. I milled a Seer, which is probably not, like, probably even worse, because obviously you really don't want to be milling Seer without having a Dante in the graveyard. So I mean, I still take advantage of this year. I summoned the Libic because I mean, I'm pretty much I don't want to miss out on a free plus, so I still summoned the Libic. So yeah, he activates Foolish Burial Goods, setting Metal Force Fusion, and Foolish Burial Goods, I assume he just did it to fill up his graveyard, then uses the Afterburns on Dante. So I mean, I still do get some pluses since Dante lets me add back Seer, and I actually do use Farfa because I realized that I don't have any level 3 monster for any Burning Abyss level 3 monster, so just to be safe, I'm gonna Farfa my Libic away to protect it from my next turn. And I mean, you guys are gonna see it actually plays out really well. So he activates Engage. He does have 3 spells in the grave, so I chain my DD Crow on his Metal Force Fusion, which is actually pretty nice, because not only does that prevent him from potentially using Metal Force Fusion to get an extra draw, it also prevents the Engage from getting a draw. So DD Crow is actually probably a perfect card in that case. So really happy about that. He searches the area 0 and he summons the Ray. He's gonna use area on Ray, chain Ray. Pretty standard Sky Striker combo right there, and pretty broken in my opinion. I really don't like that interaction with Sky Striker, but hopefully I don't think he mills anything, so it does work out for us. But again, Sky Strikers can easily accumulate advantage, especially since he has another Engage in his hand, and after he activates that other Engage eventually, that really does upset me. So yeah, yeah, he's gonna attack with his Hayate, deal 1500 and get this send. So yeah, he sets the multi-roll, and I'm so happy I have the Ghost Ogre, because Ghost Ogre is arguably one of the best cards against multi-roll. Sky Striker players won't see it coming whatsoever, so it definitely really saved me out there. So he's gonna use Kagari to get the multi-roll right back, and yeah, he activates the multi-roll, activates Engage, gets a counter on multi-roll. So pretty much, you know, trying to stack up on how many cards you can set during the end phase. So yeah, he draws into a Hercules base, which is I think he eventually does use the Hercules base, but I don't completely remember. Yeah, so he links away the Kagari for the Shizuku, pretty standard again. He uses the Hercules base, then tries to well, I think he's gonna use multi-roll targeting the Hercules base, but I have a response. I have the Ghost Ogre, so very happy with that, since I'm pretty much denying him of sending the Hercules base and getting the pluses during the end phase. And Hercules base does have that graveyard effect where if it's sent to the graveyard, you can pretty much it pretty much acts as like a Daigusto Emerald, shuffling 3 and drawing 1. So I'd say that I pretty much came out on top. So yeah, end phase, my Libic comes back, so he's gonna add Shark Cannon with his Shizuku, and since it's a quick play, he's gonna immediately activate it and get rid of my Dante, since he knows that I have the Seer in my hands. And the Seer Dante interaction is pretty broken. That's probably one of the biggest reasons why Burning Abyss is actually still a lethal deck. The Seer Dante infinite loop, like if you consider it that way, since you can always loop between Dante and Seer. I did get lucky with the Sekka's Light, well, just drawing into it, and I drew the Ash and the Skarm, and I think that I don't think I used the Sekka's Light immediately, no. So I just special summoned this the Skarm, and I make the Cherubini. I know that he had a Widow Anchor, so I was suspecting that he would use the Widow Anchor on my Cherubini. So I mean, I pretty much had that to expect. So I used Libic, special summon the Seer, and there it is. He's gonna steal my Cherubini, but I get pretty lucky. So okay, I can special summon Pancratops because Libic does negate my Seer's effect, so Seer won't blow up. So I can special summon the Pancratops, and I destroy his back row, since I was like worried that it might be another Widow Anchor. So it'll be nice to sort of bait that out. So it wasn't, but regardless, I'm glad that I did destroy it, so I don't have to worry about it. Since obviously any setback on Sky Striker you definitely need to worry about. So I'm gonna use a Sekka's Light, shuffle away the Ash, and I got pretty lucky. I drew a Burning Abyss monster, so I'm gonna normal summon the drawn Libic and accidentally make a misclick. But yeah, I believe I make a I think I make a Dante at this point. Yeah, and then again, I need some luck on my side, so I detach the Seer, and I think I mill a Rhino Warrior, which is also pretty sacky, I guess. But I mean, it's Burning Abyss, so you are likely to mill your Rhino Warrior since you're maxing out on it. So I sent a Graph and a Special Barber. I also did use Seer, so Seer revives back the Farfa, and from here, again, just misclicks on my part. So yeah, he was pretty upset about that. But I link away the Burning Abyss monsters to make Underclock Taker, and then I link away Underclock Taker, and you guys can probably guess I'm gonna make Topologic Trisbania, because both these cards, when they hit the graveyard, they all have effects, so I really don't want to deal with these cards. So I'm gonna pretty much banish them. So Dante adds back the Farfra, and as the interaction, as I said in the intro of this video, this interaction is very, very powerful, where you can special summon a BA to a zone that Trisbania points to. The BA, I don't think the BA banishes immediately, so because of that, you can use Trisbania's effect. Again, if I'm mistaken on the rule, just let me know in the comment section below. But Trisbania will banish my Farfla, and because of that, I can banish his spells and traps, which is really, really good. So I inflict 1,000 damage to him, which is pretty nutty. So I attacked the Shizuku. He had like 9 spells, so I only deal like 200 damage, I believe. Yeah, 200 damage. So, and also he does have the Rain Grave. So I mean, I wasn't pretty scared. I'm glad that Kagari's at 1, because if Kagari wasn't at 1, then I'd be worrying. But since Kagari is at 1, you know, it does make me feel much more comfortable. So he accidentally sent my Cherubini back, but Widow Anchor resolves, or rather Widow Anchor returns back the monster. So yeah, he's gonna use Ray in the end phase, special summon the Shizuku, get an additional add. He has a bunch of Sky Striker spells, so I was really curious what he was gonna add, and he actually adds the Area 0, which I really don't think does much for him. So yeah, so I wasn't really that scared, because I actually think that I came out on top during that turn. And yeah, let's see. So he uses Area 0 on his set MST. He hits drones, which is not a bad card, but really he actually doesn't have that much he can do, especially since the fact that Kagari went to 1. I actually think that's actually really a really good hit, because it really means that he can't recycle his other cards like Engage, and the fact that I destroyed multi-roll early in their duel means that he's pretty much out of steam at this point. So, as well as banishing the Hercules base, so now he really can't do that much. So I think that at this point he actually just rage quit, so we didn't even go to a second game. But I was actually pretty happy with that win. Actually, I mean, this goes to show the power of Topologic Trisbania, and I hope you guys really see this card's potential. I think that this card is fantastic, and just a grind game with this deck, because as you guys saw, I really didn't open the best, but at the end I really made it out on top. So anyways, that's gonna wrap it up for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the duels, and hopefully you guys try out my deck list, and you guys can make obviously adjustments accordingly. But hopefully you guys can see the power of Burning Abyss and why I believe it's one of the most underrated decks this format. Anyways guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.